Trump, furious after 300 Iranian drones in Cuba targeted the United States and put Tehran's threat just a few miles from Florida,
warns about a growing security threat just 90 miles from the American coast. Bush cites reports that Cuba has acquired hundreds of Iranian attack drones.
The alert, based on American intelligence, points to the use of more than 300 military drones acquired from Russia and Iran since 2023. And it went on to discuss how these aircraft could be used against the Guantanamo Bay base, American military ships, and even Key West. The information gained traction after Jeb Bush and Congressman Carlos Gimenez displayed an Iranian Shahed 136 drone in Coral Gables on July 8, 2026. To show that the risk was no longer limited to the Gulf, Havana is about 90 miles from the coast of Florida. While Iranian military advisors would operate on the island and help Cuba understand the technology used by Tehran to attack bases, ships, and cities, Trump hardened his rhetoric this Monday. July 13 accused Iran of breaking agreements and promised to hit the regime hard.
But we had a secret agreement. It was a closed deal, but they broke it. They always break it. We've already had 10 agreements with these people, so let's just hit them hard and let's keep this straight and we'll probably manage it.
The warning comes just as Iranian missiles and drones reach American facilities in Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, and Jordan. And when the Strait of Hormuz returns to the center of the war, the Caribbean has become part of the crisis that Trump is trying to crush before it reaches American territory. What does Cuba intend to do with this fleet? Why did Tehran bring its military technology closer to Florida? I'll tell you all about it in a moment. If you like this kind of straightforward, no-nonsense content, consider subscribing because here we have videos like this every day. The main information came from classified intelligence shared with the American press. The data indicates that Cuba acquired more than 300 military drones with different capabilities and distributed them at strategic points across the island.
Bush is pointing to reports that Cuba acquired hundreds of attack drones manufactured in Iran, alongside the Iranian-made Shahed 136 drone. Here in Miami, Jeb Bush highlighted reports that about 300 of these drones are currently in Cuba. It's worth mentioning that Havana disputes these claims, and NewsNation has not independently verified this reported number.
Cuban authorities are said to have discussed scenarios for using them in case relations with Washington escalate to open confrontation. Among the mentioned targets are the Guantanamo Naval Base, American military vessels, and Key West, a city in Florida located north of Havana. The American assessment does not indicate an immediate attack. That does not make the warning any less serious. The problem lies in the combination of proximity, quantity, and military cooperation. A drone launched from Cuban territory would have a much shorter distance to travel to American facilities than the systems used by Iran in the Gulf. The island also offers Tehran a political and military platform within the Western Hemisphere, something Washington has been trying to prevent for decades. Cuba began receiving drones from Russia and Iran in 2023. According to American officials, some of the equipment is believed to have been stored in strategic locations. While Cuban military personnel were seeking new units and trying to learn from the Iranian experience, the presence of Iranian military advisors in Havana heightened the alert. The same regime, which uses drones to pressure ships in the Strait of Hormuz, is now linked to a fleet station near the American coast. Jeb Bush brought the issue to the center of the debate on July 8 during an event by the group United Against Nuclear Iran at the Biltmore Hotel in Coral Gables, alongside Carlos Gimenez and former Ambassador Mark Wallace. He presented a recovered Shahed 136 and stated that reports indicated about 300 drones in Cuba.
We saw how drones were organized in groups. They can overcome the defense capabilities we've seen in the war in the Middle East as well. So this is a threat. And I think it's important to recognize that Iran has consistently worked with Cuba, Venezuela before Maduro left the regime, creating instability not only in Cuba but certainly in the region. It's about time.
Bush praised Trump for reducing some of Iran's military capability in the Middle East, but warned that the threat has not disappeared. It just took a new direction. Carlos Gimenez stated that this type of drone can travel long distances and hit targets in the southeastern United States. Guantanamo and Key West would be within the risk area mentioned by the participants. Gimenez also described the equipment as a terror weapon and said that modern conflicts are changing rapidly because of the combined use of drones, artificial intelligence, and cheap attacks against expensive structures.
The Shahed 136 is a one-way attack drone that Iran has used extensively in the Middle East and has also supplied to Russia for use in Ukraine. It has a range of about 1,500 miles and can carry more than 100 pounds of explosives. Officials present at the event in Miami this week say it has become one of Iran's signature combat drones because it can be deployed in large numbers at a relatively low cost.
Havana responded by accusing Washington of fabricating a pretext for aggression and claimed that any military preparations would be defensive in nature. CIA Director John Ratcliffe also traveled to Cuba and warned local authorities against any hostile action. The message was that the island could no longer serve as a platform for the United States adversaries. Washington is also monitoring Chinese and Russian signals intelligence facilities on Cuban territory, increasing concerns about the environment of espionage, training, and military presence just a few kilometers from Florida. Trump reacted to the Iranian advance on another front this Monday. In an interview, he stated that there was an agreement nearly finalized with Tehran, but that the regime broke it. The president said that the Iranians repeatedly break commitments and promised new tough attacks.
But we had a secret agreement. It was a done deal, but they broke it. They always break them. We've already had 10 agreements with these people, so are we just going to attack them forcefully?
Trump also declared that the United States should take over the protection of the Strait of Hormuz and charge wealthy nations that depend on the passage for that protection.
We will become the guardian of the strait. Maybe we can call ourselves the guardian angel of the strait. We should be paid for this. When we do it, we will be reimbursed because the other nations are wealthy. They are on our side, and we won't do this for free like we did for years. We protected the strait for over 50 years, and we were never paid. They made all the money, and the United States was left alone. You know that, right? They didn't want to. It's remarkable. Yeah, we never got paid. We protected that for free, and now we're going to protect it, and we're going to get paid to protect a lot of money. But we just want to be reimbursed for doing all this, for putting our people in danger. In fact, we didn't risk anyone. We're saving people. Remember that.
The statement came after a new exchange of attacks in the Gulf. The Revolutionary Guard claimed to have hit American facilities, destroyed radars in Oman, and attacked fuel and ammunition depots in Jordan. The United States responded by hitting air defense systems, coastal radars, missile sites, drone centers, and small Iranian vessels. Explosions were reported in Bandar Abbas and on Keshin Island. Tehran is trying to prove that they can still impose costs on the United States and the nations that host American troops. Kuwait has come at the center of this pressure after intercepting missiles and drones and recording attacks against defense-related structures. Iran wants to control permissions, routes, and conditions for navigation. The United States claims that Tehran does not have the authority to close the area and maintain escorts for commercial ships. Although vessel movement has dropped sharply in recent times, the Iranian regime believes that pressure on global trade could force Trump to accept concessions. This gamble has become more dangerous because the American president has made it clear that he does not intend to allow attacks on civilian ships or accept Iranian control over the passage. Each new missile launched against an American base increases the risk of a greater response and reduces the room for an agreement. Iranian expansion has also appeared in Yemen. The internationally recognized government stated that it attacked the runway at Sana'a airport on July 13 to prevent the landing of an Iranian plane. The aircraft was reportedly linked to transporting a Houthi delegation returning from the funeral of the former Iranian leader. Thank you. The Houthis accused Saudi Arabia of the attack and promised to respond, while the government based in Aden claimed responsibility for the operation and accused Iran of violating Yemeni airspace. This episode shows how Tehran tries to maintain its channels of influence despite American attacks. Cuba in the Caribbean, the Houthis in Yemen, and the Iranian forces in the Gulf form different fronts of the same strategy, spreading military resources, pressuring Washington's allies, and forcing the United States to split its attention and defenses. The White House needs to decide how to deal with the fleet located in Cuba without giving the Cuban regime the victimhood propaganda it has used for decades. A confirmation that Havana is preparing drones to attack United States facilities will confront Trump with a tough decision because the threat would be real, positioned within the continent itself and linked to the regime he accuses of breaking agreements and attacking Americans abroad. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. Support our project and contribute financially using the Pix payment key that appears on your screen. We are an independent channel focused on keeping you truthfully informed. Your contribution helps us keep going.